And my question goes to Dr. Malkus. Dr. Malkus, it all started with, you remember this? We just need 2 weeks. We need 2 weeks to stop the spread. That was it. And here we are 3 years later, we still have some federal agencies that aren't fully back at work yet. So some would argue that it was a dangerous place for a kid to be in school. And then as months unfolded, summer happened, data came in. So Dr. Malkus, you kept score. What did the data show about school closures during that summer or fall of 2020?
This is an important question because what happened that summer 2020, we can observe over the course of the year, and not only that year, but the next year when our tracker tracked masking policies across the same nationwide districts, those very early positions that districts and states took stood the test of time, even as COVID went down and up. Now, I talked in my testimony about how there was a big political split here. A lot of this went toward a early and ossified sense in these places about what's the right way to react to the pandemic. The data that we have over what happened over the course of the pandemic shows that masking measured at the county level in summer 2020 is a much better predictor of the duration of closures and masking 2 years later than COVID case rates were. This suggests that there was a lot of position taking early on, and rather than being responsive, much of our policy making and decision making regarding schools was stuck in summer 2020.
Thank you very much. To Mr. Bradford, some say, in fact, teacher unions now are saying that no one fought harder to get schools open than they did. Is that a true statement, Mr. Bradford?
I mean, true is relative, apparently. For me, again, I just think the evidence is very clear. In particular, and I don't want to call you out, Representative Miller, but in Chicago, the discussions of reopening schools were sort of responded to with the Chicago Teachers Union saying that an effort to try to reopen them was about sexism, misogyny, and racism. In New York and other places, frankly, teachers picketed with scythes and coffins. This is not the sort of activity of a group of people that are particularly interested in opening schools. And I do want to say this too, because I think this is important, and I just want to go back to it. I can remember when like March 13th, I think is what it was. That was that Friday. It was like Friday the 13th in March when the nation essentially shut down. And again, I was at the front of the line being like, we should do this. And the UFT, the United Federation of Teachers in New York, wanted to close down schools, and Bill de Blasio wanted to keep them open. And I was with the UFT. But over the summer, it became very clear, by August, it was incredibly clear, that what was happening was that teacher unions and places were working to sort of ban competition.
So you would say that answer is not true?
The answer is not true.
That's
yes.
what I need to know.
You want me to be more assertive about it?
Thank you. No, I appreciate your insight. I want to get another question in to Superintendent Truitt. Some may say, what's the big deal? Okay, we're a generation behind. Why can't we just study extra hard this year and make up for it? Are we lost forever in the 90s, or can we make it up in 1 year? What's the big deal about this learning loss?
Well, the big deal is that it's going to take multiple years to recover, and some students may never recover because, as Ms. Ray rightly stated, many students were behind in their academic progress when the pandemic hit, which one could argue is why so many parents are seeking alternatives to their neighborhood public schools. Our data show that we measured our learning loss by converting the effect sizes to months of instructional time.
We've got our
needed
challenge.
to catch up.
I've got just a few seconds left. Give us some good news. I want to end my questioning on some good news, on a bright outlook. Can you do that,
Yeah,
Superintendent Truitt?
The good news is that North Carolina has gone all in on the science of reading. We used federal dollars to provide professional development for teachers on phonics-based instruction, and our K-3 foundational reading scores show that we've outpaced the rest of the nation.
It can be done. Thank you so much, Superintendent Truitt, for all you guys. It's so frustrating that the clock, we want to expand this, but let's continue. Here's the order, members, of which we will recognize members. We're